Hey, what's up, card fighters? So you might notice that things are slightly different this time around. I have the bat and the deck pointed towards me instead of away from me like normal. Yeah, we got upgrades. I got this new stand, like this stand that you can hook up to a table just for deck profiles. I don't know. It was too hard to do deck profiles with the tripod because I just didn't have like the amount of space that I wanted to have, and just up the quality of the channel just like that little bit. So you guys hit the that like, that comment, that subscribe. But let's get into my GRANFIA deck profile. I got second place with this list at locals, but fair warning is there was only 3 rounds at locals, but I just wanted to document my little modicum of success with the deck and get this deck profile out there, because there is like 0 up-to-date GRANFIA content right now. Like there's like a couple of like early GRANFIA deck profile. No, I think there's only like 1, and it's that I think Agma12 I think is or 23 is his YouTube channel, but that's the only one that's like post set 12, and like Vanity Ezel, but I don't trust anything that Vanity Ezel puts out. Yeah. We're doing the order ride line just because this deck, the way I built this deck was to naturally kind of coincide with orders that help me resurrect from the drop zone, mainly my pieces from the drop zone and deck thin at the same time, just because this deck still doesn't like it when you pick apart its board. It's still very fragile to board removal, like unless you do have those key elements in place to combat against board removal. But getting into the grade 3s and 2s, playing 3 copies of Persona Red now and 3 copies of Orange. I might cut down Orange to 2 and then play 4 Mushrooms. But for now, we're just playing 3 Orange, just because you really do want to have at least 1 Orange on the field if you are going first. If you're going second, you have another grade 1 that's your main that is your main attacker for basically the rest of the game. And this deck is actually not, you don't rely on Persona Rod anymore. Persona Rod is nice when you do have it, but it's not one of those things where this deck like folds if it doesn't have Persona Rod anymore, which I really like that about the deck. Going on to the orders now. 4 copies of Frozen and 2 Habitat. I was thinking about changing the 2 Habitat, but I just have to like this deck is really flexible in what you can do with it, just because the way the engine cards work, you don't necessarily need a lot of them. You just kind of need your like main staple cards to be at 4, and then you have like a lot of room to basically do whatever else you want with the deck. But 4 Frozen though is like the best order that you can use, just because it does deck thin and resurrect at the same time. But Habitat is nice just because Habitat's also free, and this deck does use Soul. It does use Soul. Outside of Frozen, this deck does use Soul. Uses Soul for its ride line, and uses Soul for Frozen, and then there's another oh no, that's the only 2. Oh, that's only a counter boss. Oh yeah, that's the only 2. But Soul can just be like, oh yeah. This is what I was thinking about. You need Soul to summon your Noblest token. So Soul can be a little bit cumbersome in the deck, but as long as you have the mushroom, you should at least 1 mushroom in rotation, you should be fine. And then going on to the rest of our grade 1s, the rest of this deck is grade 1s. Grade 1s is the bread and butter strategy of GRANFIA. 1 Blitz Order PG. Now the only reason I'm running 1 Blitz Order PG, even though you guys know I feel like this format is the format to get away with not playing the Blitz Order PG at all, is shoutouts to Ryan, buddy of mine. He helped me hammer out what I wanted this list to look like, how I wanted it to be, and he told me run the Blitz Order PG because it's an extra order count that doesn't take up a slot in your deck outside of Perfect Guard slot. And I was like, I trust you. So 1 Blitz Order PG and then 3 regular DPGs. PGs are really, this deck does draw. It does have a draw engine and it does run draw triggers, but PGs are just like DPGs are so vital this format. I feel like there's just so many decks that like they're hitting at you with like numbers and like crit pressure that you just kind of like you're forced to just PG those attacks. Like, there's so many decks that can just like make columns that are just like, hey, this is just like, this requires a perfect guard, or this, you require to use 2 perfect guards to survive. But yeah, getting on to the rest of the grade 1s. 3 copies of Mushroom. I do think after the tournament, this is the exact same list I was running from the tournament. No changes at all, but maybe I would cut 1 orange for a 4th Mushroom, just because Mushroom is, you need to, especially if you're going second, which this deck does prefer to go second, just because it's completely turned online. You do want to have this Mushroom on turn 1 going second. It just helps you so much with your rush plays, because you do want to get your opponent to like that 3 to 4 damage mark before you start your before you go into your grade 3 turn, because then you're just hitting them with like really nasty numbers. On to the rest of the grade 1s. 4 copies of Darien. This is a promo. It's not that expensive, but I know it's a little bit pricier than what most people are willing to pay for cards, but he's like $4 right now, $5 a piece right now. But this is your draw engine. This is not only is this your draw engine, but this is like your token producer engine, because of and you don't even need to be at grade 3 GRANFIA. If I was running like the original ride line for GRANFIA, you can use Candor's effect to produce or Darien's effect to produce a token before the battle phase. But yeah, you really do want to max out on Darien. He's just like what helps you see your pieces, what helps you see your perfect guards. And then like basically the star of the deck, 4 copies of Rosarium. Rosarium, what Rosarium does for this deck is not only does it produce plant tokens, it doesn't copy the power, it increases its power by the power of your Noblest Rose token, and she gets plus 5k power for every plant gauge underneath her. So you can get your Rosarium fairies like super huge, even if you just rode to grade 3. The only caveat is that your opponent has to be grade 3 or greater. So that's why you do want to run some copies of oranges if you do go first, just because they make slightly better numbers. But yeah, this is the bread and butter of the deck. Your ideal grade 3 turns are to set up 2 of these in the front row and just smack face. And then I play 3 copies of Diantha. Now, the reason that I took up like main deck space to run Diantha is I wanted to have an extra way of like superior calling from the drop zone outside of just playing an order for turn. Because unless you Alchemagic, there's no order card that you can play right now in Stoicheia that can get you like 2 of any rear guard. So I'm playing 3 copies of Diantha. Yeah, she only works from hand, but if I have a Resentment, a Frozen Resentment, and a Diantha in hand, it just gets me 2 combo pieces, so I'm just able to play the game. Which is like, your ultimate goal of this deck is just to make sure that you're able to like play the game. And what do I mean by that? Have at least roll 1 Rosarium Fairy and have like at least 2 plant gauges on your Noblest Rose token. Because if you can't retire your Noblest Rose token with 2 plant gauges at least, you won't get the restund off of GRANFIA. Because for GRANFIA's effect, you have to like retire 3 minimum. And then going on to the triggers. Playing 1 of the Stoicheia over trigger. Not much to say here. The Stoicheia over trigger is good just because it's an Omni trigger, and because it's an Omni trigger, it can help you evidently see your pieces, which is just very important in a strategy like this. 3 draw triggers. I'm sacrificing the 20k shield of fronts. Fronts don't really work in this deck just because of how your attack patterns generally work. Because Rosarium Fairy increases its power by your Noblest Rose token's power, generally you want to swing with 1 Rosarium Fairy unboosted, the other Rosarium Fairy boosted, and then swing with your Vanguard, and then restand the Rosarium Fairy that wasn't boosted, and then boost with it. But yeah, 3 draw triggers. 8 crits. You don't really need them to be the into soul crit. You don't really have a soul problem in this deck. But I guess like it's one of those things like if you have it, you can play it, better need it, not have it, then have it and need it. And then for regular, what's it called? For regular heal triggers, you could play like 1 or 2 effect triggers here. That's just completely up to you and player preference. And that is basically the deck profile, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you thought about the deck down below. I will be showing my matches that I had with this deck from the locals. I'm thinking about putting it all in one video and like I commentate over it or something to that nature. But yeah, before we go though, I do want to I know I already explained it, but I do want to go over quickly what you do want your ideal turn 3 board to look like. Hey yo. And this is if your opponent's what's it called? If your opponent's grade 3 or greater, this is what your ideal grade 3 turn looks like, which you can do if you're going second. So this is your Vanguard. You want to have at least 1 Darien, if not 2. It's super easy to like. Especially if you're up against like matchups that don't retire, it's very easy for you to just set up your full combo board, which is double Darien in the back row, your Noblest token, and double Rosarian Fairy. So usually you'll start your grade 3 turn with like at least like 1 or 2 plant gauges. Like let's just say like you start with 1. Let's see how that looks. Oh no, that's worse. Put that up there. Alright, that's better. So let's say you start with 1. And then, okay, you start your turn with 1. You already have, like, you have the Darians. You call. This has an effect that when you call it to rear guard, you could retire rear guard to call 2 plant tokens, which, because of Noblest token's effect, you can retire a plant gauge instead. So basically, if you already have your Rose token, it's add 1 plant gauge. Retire a plant gauge, add 2 plant gauge, which we're going to do it again. And then we're going to start the battle phase, and at the start of the battle phase, your Darians trigger, which they'll each give you another token, and then you'll get to CB1 draw off of each, which the only cards that use CB in this deck are Darien and your Diantha, so you basically just almost always use your CB just to draw cards. And this is your basic combo with just 5 plant gauges. I think the most I've gotten to was 9 plant gauges, which was like a plus 50 to the Rosarium Fairies. But right now, if our opponent is grade 3, this is our ideal board. You'll swing with the Rosarium Fairy unboosted. He's 8. This is 25 plus 5, 30. So this is 38 by itself. And then you'll swing 46, and then you'll swing with the Vanguard, 43, whatever triggers you get. So whatever, you don't have to do this. You could swing with the Vanguard second. You don't have to swing with the Vanguard third. You can swing with the Vanguard second, but any trigger power you get, you give it to the Noblest token, because these guys will see that power and increase their power when they attack by the Noblest token's power. So even when you sack 3 plant gauges to restand this, the other guy will still be probably not as powerful, but still like powerful enough to matter. But more often than not, you'll just be doing it like this. Sorry about that, guys. It really depends on your your opponent's damage count. Like, if I'm trying to push my opponent to 4 before my Vanguard swings to threaten lethal with a crit, I'll swing with this second and then my Vanguard third. Or if my opponent's already at 4 and I know if I just swing with this second, they'll just eat it, I'll swing with my Vanguard second, and then I'll prioritize any trigger power here on the Noblest token. But yeah, that's going to be it, guys, for this deck profile. Again, you know, we're growing each and every day. So, like, anything you guys can do to help out the channel, just share, like, commenting, subscribing. And yeah, more content on GRANFIA in the future. I don't feel like I'm done with this deck. But anyways, guys, y'all have a good night. Ooh, new setup.